Okay. And going backwards from April the 7th, how long before that date was that camera put into the bedroom?
Probably on the 5th.
Okay. So the same day that the recordings that we saw?
I believe so. I'm not positive though, but I believe so.
Okay. Now, at the last clip from reportedly from the 5th shows that the camera appeared to have been moved. Where was it moved to?
I moved it back into where we had it at first, and that is right in my computer, by my computer, which is in the front room, by the couch and coffee table, right adjacent to that.
Okay. So we saw from the 7th some recordings. Was that where you put the camera at the end of the?
No, sir.
Okay. So was at some other location? Did it at some point in time get moved to the area that we see on the 7th?
That same camera?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. And where did the camera that was on the dining room table, where did that come from? Or had that already been there?
What it was is I had a bunch of them that were just I just re-maintenanced them and got them all like really charged and stuff. And I put them in a bowl that was on the dining room table. And I put one on the outside of that, and that must have recorded everything.
Okay. Okay. So going to the 5th, the jury saw videos from that, those discussions you had with Brandy.
Right.
What were you mad about at that time?
Some infidelity. And we were on meth too, so it kind of raised the aggravation, I would say.
Okay. When you said the things you did you have any real intentions of harming or killing Brandy?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Now, when the last clip that we saw from the 5th occurred, did you go back into the bedroom after that camera was moved, or did you sleep somewhere else, or where did you go?
I did go back in the bedroom for a minute to grab my keys, because I was going to leave. But then I just went in the living room, and that was that. Crashed on the couch? Correct.
Okay. And was that through the remainder of the night?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, we heard testimony from Miss Eagleson, Dawn Eagleson. Did you know her as a neighbor?
I had just met her, and I mean just that day.
Okay. And you heard her testimony that Brandy introduced you. Is that to her husband?
Yeah.
Is that basically what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that over her place? The Eagleson?
Correct.
Okay. And did you hang out for some period of time there?
Yeah, I would say 20 minutes to an hour, somewhere in between there.
Okay. And there was some mention about marijuana being consumed. Did that happen?
Yes, it did, sir.
All right. And between who and who?
Between me and her husband and Brandy. And I don't know if Dawn did or not. I'm not sure.
Okay. Were you and Brandy getting along during that period of time?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was even sitting on my lap while we were there, and we had mentioned renewing our vows as well.
Okay. And was that during the daylight or dark when you?
It was during the day.
Okay. Now, and then the jury heard testimony from Joanna Salmons. Did you know her before the 6th of April?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And how did you know her?
Well, originally, it was from Brandy. But I've known her for years, ever since Brandy moved in with me, maybe even before that.
Okay. Had she, prior to April the 6th of 2018, come over and hung out at the house at Felter?
Yes, a few times, yes.
Okay. And the address before, did she come and hang over there?
All the time.
Okay. And so Miss Salmons was there for, I think she said like about 4 hours. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I'd say roughly that, maybe a little more.
Okay. And just hanging out, what did you guys do?
Yeah, we hung out. They were in the back on the hammocks for a while. I rolled them their own little, looked like a joint. And they were back there, I'm hanging out. And then they were inside. We watched a movie, we smoked, stuff of that nature.
Okay. And did you, when they came inside, did you smoke with them?
Yeah, but not as much as they did.
Okay. And do you, Ms. Salmons mentioned about you, I guess, crashing on the couch. You remember that happening at all?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And so did you ever see Ms. Salmons leave then? Before you
No,
crashed?
sir.
Okay. So you're there on the couch, you're crashing. Ms. Salmons had been over there for a while. Well, during the time before you crashed, you and Brandy getting along good?
Yeah.
Okay. No threats, no arguments, no issues between?
No, sir. We had let that go that
Okay.
day.
And then, so do you, after crashing on the couch, do you remember at some point, like waking up or anything like that?
Yeah, I woke up to him take a pee.
Okay. And did you then go back did you go into the bedroom after you woke up, or do you remember?
I can't recall where, but I went back to sleep.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned the jury heard some jail calls about mentioning Ryland. Did you remember that conversation at all?
Not really.
Okay. Did you ever intend for Ryland to be, did you ever bring up the subject any further after that, anything like that?
No.
Okay. With your mom, I mean?
With my mom?
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Okay. The jury heard a jail call that with your father
Right.
from the April the 28th. Would that have been the day after you got arrested?
Correct.
Okay. And they heard, the jury heard you say something to the effect that, to the best of my recollection, I didn't do this. What did you mean by that?
I meant I didn't murder nobody. That's what they were charging me with, and I didn't murder anybody.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I say I didn't do it. I'm referring to the charge that they're charging me with.
Okay. So you're not, were you insinuating you had some sort of memory lapse or some problems remembering or forgetting what happened? You're denying what happened?
Well, they had been asking me pretty excessive, and I just didn't want to answer no more questions.
Okay. All right. Just 1 second, Your Honor. I did want to kind of go back a little bit to to be a little personal. Before, like the 5th of April, were there times when you and Brandy would do things online or exhibit online?
Sometimes.
Okay. And without getting specific, would these be sexual things?
Correct.
Okay. And for roughly how long a period of time was that?
I don't know, a couple months maybe.
Okay. Was that what there? Was
For
that
me,
going
yeah.
on while you were there at Felter?
Huh?
Was that while you were there at Felter, living at Felter?
What do you mean?
Living at the house on 23 Felter Lane. Is that where the online activity was happening in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would that be through the use of your computer or?
Some on the computer, some on the phone.
Okay. Now, Mr. Johansen, you certainly have testified here today about what happened. Do you admit that you didn't tell the police or the EMT or your parents the truth when you told them about seeing Brandy out in the...
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that for the reasons you previously stated?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Is the testimony you've given here today that about the sequence of events in the bedroom and your use of the canic for self-defense, is that what really happened?
Yes, that is 100% accurate.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions at this time. I tend to the witness.
Thank you.
Cross. We could take our afternoon break at this time. It's 3:10. It's closing in on that hour. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to place you in recess. Once again, please don't discuss the testimony you've heard in court yet, and we'll resume probably in about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay? Thank you.
Wendy to react. All right, they are taking their afternoon recess, and the defense just ended with the questioning of their client in this case, Keith Johansen. Here you can see him standing. He was on the witness stand. He testified and said that what he said today is the sequence of events, and him shooting his wife, Brandy Salenza, in self-defense is the accurate sequence of events that happened. And he openly admitted that he lied to police, EMT, first responders, and his parents. All right, and they are now going to take their break. I'd like to bring in Wendy Patrick, trial attorney, here with us to help break it down. Wendy, always great to have you here on Court TV Live. I must ask, what's your analysis so far of the defendant's version of what really happened?
Ashley, are you asking me as a lawyer or a behavioral analyst? Because I think I'd give two related but distinctly different questions. So legally, it's always tricky to put a defendant on the stand that's going to admit having lied about the crime he's accused of. That's very different than lying about something tangential, maybe not so important or relevant. But this is huge, not mentioning self-defense. I also have to say, though, because jurors analyze behavior just like the rest of us, the kind of vicarious trauma that must be involved in seeing a spouse commit suicide might not have been exactly there in the ways in which this jury might have been expecting to see it. And that's important because if a defendant takes the stand, you and I know they can judge his credibility just like they can any other witness. So they may talk about things like the lack of emotion. He was very animated, swiveling in his chair, repeating questions when they were asked. Let's see how he does on cross-examination. But at first glance, he's probably not making the types of points, at least not yet. Maybe he'll be rehabilitated on redirect, that his counsel probably thought that maybe he would.
And I'd love to ask you also part of that behavioral analyst part. I noticed the extreme language he used. Is this the right version? 100%. Absolutely. Very extreme language. The other part I have to ask you is it surprising to you that he didn't shed a tear, that he wasn't upset by the fact that regardless of what happened, Brandy, his wife, is dead?
That's what I mean by the emotion, Ashley. If you're on this jury, you would probably expect to see absolute, I mean, can you even imagine what would be felt by a defendant talking about this? You just heard him say they were talking about renewing their vows. And he's now talking about having witnessed her suicide. Remember that he referred to it not as a suicide, but a killing during his testimony. But yes, as a behavioral analyst, we often look at things, and I talk about this in my last book, Red Flags, that remember O.J. Simpson said the same thing. Remember the statement, I am 100% not guilty. Now, would people truthfully say things like this? Maybe, but you have to look at the package. And that's what jurors are looking at right now, the package, the words, the emotion or lack thereof. And then, of course, on cross-examination, we'll see if he's able to keep his cool, the yes or no, sir, that he was very able to do with his own counsel.
Absolutely. And the cross-examination, I agree with you, is going to be very telling because he has those prior different stories that he admits were not truthful then. Let's see what happens. Wendy Patrick, you're going to stay with us. We're going to take this opportunity to take a break. But when we come back, there was a press conference earlier today regarding the shooting by Alec Baldwin. We'll bring you all the latest here on Court TV Live. Turning now to the deadly shooting involving the actor Alec Baldwin. Investigators in New Mexico held a press conference earlier today saying there will be no arrests at this time. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Office says they recovered multiple live rounds from the incident, including the lead projectile that took one person's life. Last week, Baldwin fired a prop gun on the set of the Western movie Rust and killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The film's director, Joel Souza, was also hit and injured. Baldwin says he didn't know a live round was in the gun at the time. Let's take a listen to some of that press conference.
Through the execution of search warrants, we have collected about 600 items of evidence. These include, but are not limited to, 3 firearms, approximately 500 rounds of ammunition, and several pieces of clothing and accessories. We believe that we have in our possession the firearm that was fired by Mr. Baldwin. This is the firearm we believe discharged the bullet. We also believe that we have the spent shell casing from the bullet that was fired from the gun. The actual lead projectile that was fired has been recovered from the shoulder of Mr. Souza. The projectile was recovered by medical personnel where he was being treated and turned over to the sheriff's office as evidence. We regard this specific spent casing and recovered projectile to be the live round that was fired from the revolver by Mr. Baldwin.
Sheriff, as the man who pulled the trigger and as a producer on the movie, does Alec Baldwin himself face the potential of criminal charges? And if the DA could perhaps follow up with that as well.
That may be a question better answered by the district attorney.
All options are on the table at this point. I'm not commenting on charges, whether they will be filed or not, or on whom. So the answer is we cannot answer that question yet until we complete a more thorough investigation.
But there is the potential for Alec Baldwin himself to face charges because you have not ruled them out.
No one has been ruled out at this point.
Joining us now is a special guest entertainment attorney, Dominic Romano. Dominic, thank you for joining us here on Court TV Live. One of the things I want to start with was the last thing that we heard, and that is the district attorney there saying everything's on the table still, all options, because a thorough investigation must be completed. What does that mean to you?
To me, that means what were the parties, to what extent might the parties have been grossly negligent or criminally negligent in their conduct, but not checking the chambers and allowing this unsafe condition where someone was actually killed to persist on a movie set.
Tell me about part of where I struggle listening to all of this information. There are a couple of specific questions they mentioned earlier today. One of those is the fact that live ammunition was found on the set in spite of some witnesses saying there's never live ammunition on the set. Does it surprise you to learn that there was in this case?
Absolutely. It's not regular protocol. And there have been all kinds of reports since this incident of, people shooting at cans, offset and firing off rounds. It's very unusual. I mean, after the Crow case in the early 1990s, when an actor tragically lost his life, there have been increased gun safety protocols. And to hear this happen today in 2021 or last week is truly shocking.
Do you believe then, based on your experience, that because there is a protocol, all kinds of legal analysts have talked about the specific protocol that's to be followed. Do you think, knowing what you know at this point, and we know the investigation has not yet been completed, do you believe that that protocol was or was not followed correctly?
Well, it appears with some certainty that it was not followed correctly. If it had been followed, no one would have lost their lives. And at the end of the day, it's hard to imagine a scenario where everyone escapes civil liability here. So maybe not criminal liability, but you can be sure that there will be a civil lawsuit here. And it would be interesting to see what kind of defense they can mount, that they took all reasonable precautions in light of what happened.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, apologies, but I want to break that down a little bit in terms of the civil lawsuit. I know you do entertainment law. In this type of case, is that civil lawsuit based on negligence? At the end of the day, is that the standard?
Well, it would have to be, right? Look, there is insurance. Presumably, the production company is insured. It's required under the law of that state where the production was happening. But, for over 20 years, there have been several protocols in place and checking and double checking. Someone yells cold gun and there's a live round in the chamber and someone gets shot and killed. I mean, that is going to be a difficult set of facts to defend against.
And it makes me wonder, could this have been done on purpose? Could someone have taken the live ammunition, put it in the gun so that the rubber bullets that were there and allegedly identified by the armorer previously, then in addition to that, somebody put the live ammunition intending this type of result?
I think the possibility of that is why you heard in that press conference, it said that no one and nothing is being ruled out at this time. Further investigation is necessary, but theoretically, absolutely possible. I mean, it would be astoundingly negligent to allow that to occur on a film set.
Yeah, it just feels to me like there's much more to be learned. Let's listen as the district attorney did talk about the live rounds in the gun.
So you said that a live round was recovered. Based on the witness interviews that you've done, can you tell us what you've learned about how live ammunition was on the set and how it made its way into that firearm? We learned that there was possible target practice maybe earlier that day. What have you learned on that front?
So I think what we've learned is we suspect that there was other live rounds that were found on the set. I won't comment further on how they got there. That's still part of this investigation is active, so I won't comment on how they got there. But we suspect that they are there. That will be determined when testing is done by the crime lab in reference to whether or not they are officially live rounds or not.
And you're right, Dominic. They make very clear that the investigation has not yet been completed and that they are going to investigate further about the live rounds that were left on that set. I cannot thank you enough, Dominic Romano, for your expertise coming on with us today to talk about this case that we will continue to update all viewers on as we learn more. In the meantime, we want to return to Florida because the jury is back in the courtroom. This is the trial against Keith Johansen. He's on the stand. Let's go back to court.
Everybody be seated, be comfortable. Let the record reflect that the jury is secure in the jury panel. Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Johansen, I want to start with the reasons why you didn't tell law enforcement, emergency rescue personnel, detectives, or your parents the truth, okay?
Okay.
And the first reason was you were worried about your meth use, is that right?
About telling people about our meth use.
Okay, so not even about getting arrested, you were just worried about...
Well, I was worried about that too, yes.
Okay. Did you have meth in the house?
I wasn't sure. Brandy had the last gram of it, so we could have.
Okay. But generally, you're just worried about use. You didn't want your parents to know that you used meth.
That's one of the reasons.
And the second reason was that you didn't want to air out the problems in your marriage, correct?
That's another one.
Right, you listed that as the reason, right?
Correct.
Okay. But in fact, in the interview with the detectives, you told the detectives about the problems in your marriage when you were asked, correct?
Correct. I didn't go to the extent, though.
Okay. And you told them about her cheating, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the other reasons you gave is that you didn't want to tarnish Miss Salenza's name.
Correct.
Okay. By Matthews
Matthews and the infidelity.
and the sex stuff.
Right.
Even though in the video on the 5th, you told her, I can't wait until this is on the front page of the paper so they see my story.
I don't recall.
You don't remember saying anything about all this being aired out in the newspapers
I don't recall.
after you threatened her life?
Yet again, I don't recall.
So I want to go through that statement with you
Okay.
and determine exactly what you were lying about. In the statement, you told the detectives that Miss Brandy Salenza was everything you wanted her to be. Is that right?
Correct.
So that was a lie, correct?
No, ma'am.
No?
No,
I
ma'am.
thought she was a bitch and a whore. But
She
you
was.
didn't mean any of that.
No, I didn't mean any of
Okay,
it.
she was everything you wanted her to be, and your marriage was great.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, so those weren't lies.
No, they weren't lies.
Okay. You told the detectives you made her quit her job. Was that true? Or lie?
I didn't make her, but I strongly recommended it.
So that was a lie. You told the detectives that the biggest issue you had in your marriage that she would laugh at stupid things. That was clearly a lie, correct?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. The fact that she would laugh at stupid things is less important than infidelity. You would agree with that, correct?
Yeah.
You told the detectives that you would have arguments. It was nothing crazy and nothing violent. That was a lie, correct?
I never got violent.
No?
I said violent things, yes, but I
And-
never got violent.
Brandishing a firearm, telling somebody to kill themselves with it, that's not violent.
You see,
in
that was
nature?
taken out of context. I never said kill yourself with it. I said you do it. As being to put it in the safe, which you heard me take the weapon to, and you heard me punch in the numbers right afterwards.
Okay, so when you threw it down on the bed, you were telling her to put it in a safe?
Pretty much.
So you guys were doing great, you were just bickering here and there, neither of you were aggressive during arguments. That was a lie,
Correct.
Right, because you were pretty aggressive on those videos.
Right.
You told the detectives you didn't care about this online thing. Big whoopee.
Well, at the time, we had got over it.
So on the 7th, 2 days later, you were over all of that we saw on the 5th.
Correct. We were over it on the 6th.
You just woke up and all of that was
We
nothing.
had talked that morning, and we both let it go.
You told the detectives, again, you didn't care, that she was noble, and that she was honest for telling you. That was a lie.
After I got to reflect on it, you know what I mean? She did tell me, and that was a noble thing. Like I said, we got over it. You know, we both got over it.
You would agree you didn't treat her with respect like she was noble on the 5th.
Correct.
When did she tell you all this happened?
Either the 4th or the 5th, one of the two.
You had a little argument, that's what you told Detective Terry, a little argument.
Right.
5, 6, how many hours was it?
I can't recall.
Longer than what we saw in the video?
I can't recall.
I'm the kind of person that will suck it up, cheating, infidelity, and let it go. Is that what happened when she told you it was no big deal?
Right afterward, the day after, that's what happened.
You told the detectives that on the morning of the 7th, when she woke up that morning, that she came into the shower, she peeked around the shower curtain and like joked with you back and forth, correct?
That's what I told them, and that was a lie, yes.
That was a lie. You told the detectives that you keep your guns on the side of the bed between the mattress and the bed frame. That was a lie.
Some of them I usually did keep them there, so that wasn't a complete lie.
But you knew they were interested in the morning of the 7th, and where were your guns?
They didn't specify.
You didn't know that they were asking you about right before the murder where the guns were?
I thought they were asking in general.
You didn't think it was important to tell them where they were on the morning of the 7th when you're trying to explain why your wife is shot dead in your home?
They didn't ask me that specific question.
Okay. When you told the detectives you were sliding around on the ground and you couldn't get to her, that was a lie.
Well, I was a little bit wet, but that was a lie, yes.
Okay. You didn't try to get to her.
I got to her.
You got to her?
Enough to see that she wasn't breathing to call, the proper authorities.
Right. But you never tried to help your wife.
I don't know CPR.
You
I'm
never-
not trained in stuff like that.
What about when the dispatcher's out telling you what to do and trying to give you instructions? You never touched her. You never applied pressure. That's true, correct?
That's true. I didn't know where the wounds were.
You told the dispatcher you saw blood spots, correct?
Right.
And when he asked you to apply pressure, you said, I don't want to touch her. I don't want to get near her, correct?
Correct. I didn't want to hurt no,
And so again, you told the detectives you didn't see a wound. You didn't see where she was shot. That wasn't true.
I didn't see no bullet holes. I just saw a little bit of blood.
But you knew you shot her twice.
Correct.
So you lied.
Well, I didn't see a bullet hole, so
You saw blood
correct.
and you knew you shot her.
Correct.
And when they asked you where do you think she was shot, you lied and said, I don't know.
I didn't really know.
And when you told the detectives that, she was trying to make our bed, she grabbed him and dropped him,
That was a
all lies, correct? You told them you didn't know if she was shot once or twice, that was a lie.
Correct.
You told them you didn't know for sure if she was shot, you were just assuming, that was a lie.
Correct.
When you told them you really didn't know what happened, that was a lie.
Correct.
When you told them I got no reason to lie to you guys, that was a lie.
Correct.
And you told them you weren't going to make stuff up, that was a lie.
Right.
You made stuff up for probably 12 hours that day, correct?
Give or take.
You told the detectives that day that you went to sleep in your jeans, that you went into the shower and left your jeans in the shower. That was a lie.
Correct.
Because
we
now
know
you've
that
seen
from
the
video.
videos.
Well, I knew that to begin with.
Okay, so you were lying all the time.
I told you I lied to him.
Your hair was wet. That was a lie.
Probably.
You told the detectives that you two have never talked about killing each other or suicide.
I mean,
That was a lie.
We didn't have a discussion about, I'm going to kill you, you're going to kill me. No.
You didn't tell her on the 5th, probably a half a dozen times you were going to kill her.
Well, I did, yes.
So when you told the detectives you never talked about killing her, that was a lie.
Not talking about it, there's a difference between saying something and talking about it.
There's a difference between saying something and talking about it.
Correct.
You told the detectives that you didn't have any video cameras in your bedroom. That was a lie.
Yeah.
You knew that there had been one in there at some point,
A
correct?
few days before, yeah.
Okay. And you told them the rest of them do not work and they're offline. That's not
Most of
correct.
them were.
Most of them
Maybe
were.
3 or 4 out of 10.
But 3 out of 4 out of 10 worked.
Correct.
That would have been helpful to know on April 7th, correct?
Correct.
As would have been getting into the Arlo account, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. But you never provided that information to law enforcement.
I didn't know that information.
No? Who knew it?
Brandy.
You told the detectives you and Brandy had the passwords to Arlo.
Well, I had the app, but Brandy switched everything over when we got the new system.
And after all of that time you spent with the detectives, Nicole, Detective Quinteri now, and Sergeant Hresakopoulos, do you remember the time that Detective Quinteri told you, is there any chance, Keith, that this is not what happened? And she gave you an opportunity to give more information. Do you remember that?
Right.
And you said, no, absolutely not. This is what
I
happened.
wasn't represented.
You weren't represented?
Correct.
Do you need a lawyer present to tell you to tell the truth?
To any testimony, I think you should have a lawyer present, correct?
That wasn't my question.
What was the question? Rephrase it?
To tell the truth, do you need a lawyer to sit next to you to tell the truth?
No.
Okay. And when Investigator Quinteri inquired several times, I believe at least twice, she made it known, a lot of times people won't talk ill about somebody who's dead. She put
Correct.
that out there and not to worry about that. You didn't take that as your opportunity to tell what actually happened
No, ma'am.
because you were lying.
I guess.
You were lying 3 to 4 minutes after she was shot when you called 911, correct?
Correct.
Correct. What's the first thing you said when those law enforcement officers came through the door? Do you remember that?
The first thing I said is, I think she shot herself.
No, the first thing you said was I was in the shower.
Oh, well.
So you knew then, you were leading with that.
Right.
That was your excuse. It was accidental, correct?
It definitely was accidental.
Because you don't want to tarnish Brandy's name,
That's what I
correct?
said.
And you didn't want anybody to know that y'all used meth. That was your biggest concern.
Correct.
There was someone dead in your home, your wife. You had to have known law enforcement would look at you, correct?
Correct.
They had you at the sheriff's office for 12 hours.
Right.
It's accidental, it's suicide, or it's homicide. You understood that as the options, correct?
Right.
But you were worried about meth use, and that's why you decided not to come forward with your story.
More than just meth use.
Meth use and reputation and your problems versus murder. This
Well,
was
yeah.
more important.
I didn't want to say anything without representation, like I told you.
You talked for a real long time, correct?
Correct.
And you remember Investigator Thomas at the time, Quinteri, telling you at the very beginning, you know you don't have to talk to us. You remember that?
Right.
And you remember even before that happened, I believe it was on the video, when Sergeant Hristokopoulos kept coming in the room, you were saying, can I write a statement?
No, I
Okay.
asked if I needed to write a
Right.
statement.
And then they came in and asked you if it was okay to talk, and you're like, absolutely, fire away,
Right.
right? And they told you, you do not have to talk to us.
Correct.
And you talked to them.
Correct.
Okay, and chose to lie.
Correct.
I want to start back with your testimony here today, Mr. Johansen. You talked about all the guns in your house, correct?
Right.
All right, and the gun that was originally Brandy's gun, okay, that is the Luger, is that correct?
Ruger.
Ruger,
Correct.
okay. And the Ruger is the one with like a purple band with a white band around it,
Correct. I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
It had a purple grip thing, yeah.
purple grip. And that's the one seen on the 5th that you get out of the left side of the bed by her.
Right.
And remove it to go what?
To put it in the safe.
Okay. So you guys are fighting and arguing and you take her gun and you lock it in a safe.
Sure.
Do you remember which safe it was in?
It was in, I think, the little black one. I'm not sure. They
Not-
both had the number keypads.
Not the gray one on the bottom, but the one above it, correct?
Possibly.
And earlier you though testified that she didn't really like that gun, right? She liked the Beretta?
Yeah.
Okay. Which was the gun that she had the misfires in your house?
That was actually my 45 caliber of the SD.
The Springfield that was to the right of the bed on the day of the
Correct.
homicide? Okay. And so she, what, accidental discharges? She's just playing with the guns in the house?
Well, she took it out of my couch and it shot the couch. One was when she was moving it in the bedroom at my old house, and she went like this and it shot the roof.
Okay. And that was with your Springfield?
Correct.
Okay. But the guns, of all the guns in the home that she liked to use or handle the most, it was your Beretta, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And knowing this and knowing your wife apparently has had 2 accidental discharges, correct?
Right.
You kept no rubber bullets in that gun.
Because it was a car gun.
And what does that mean?
I kept it with me when I was in the vehicles.
Right. For protection.
Correct.
Right. So you wouldn't want to have less lethal bullets in a gun for protection, correct?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, you either do or you don't. You kept a gun in your car with
I kept
regular
them both
bullets
for protection.
for protection, correct?
Right.
Okay. But you testified earlier that you put rubber bullets in all the guns in your house because you wouldn't want to kill or hurt an intruder. Is that correct?
An intruder or anybody. That is correct.
Okay. If they break into your car, you'll kill them, but not in your house.
Not necessarily saying that. I mean, there's road rage, there's a lot of issues that you might need real bullets in.
Right. And so you're okay using real bullets in that situation. But if someone breaks into your home, your castle with your wife and your child, you're going to make sure you use less than lethal.
Well, there was only a few in every mag.
So now your testimony is today that on the day of the homicide in the morning, the Canic was
In the
where?
box.
Which box?
To the, when you walk, well, if you're looking at the bed, straight forward, it was to the left and it had the laptop in it.
Okay, a big box or the Canic box?
It was a big box.
Okay. So you kept the gun in there.
Right.
There was a lot of junk in that box.
Right,
Okay. And your testimony is that the Beretta was on the nightstand.
correct.
Okay. And you keep the holster under your bed?
Yeah, I didn't really use it.
The Canic wasn't in the Canic holster?
No,
It was just conveniently right next to it in the murder scene?
no, it wasn't right next to it.
And the 45 Springfield was not in a safe, so there's actually 3 in the room. It was out, sticking out of the top of the box, correct?
Yes, an RCA box.
And so that morning, actually I'm going to start before that morning. In the days leading up to the 7th, you
Okay.
testified on direct about your meth usage, right?
Correct,
All right, you testified that you had bought a 8-ball, is that what you said?
correct.
Which is 3.5 grams?
That is correct.
And that you and Brandy used it continuously for 10 to 12 days?
Not me for the 10 to 12. It was more like 10 for me. And then she had used it afterwards.
Okay, what day did you stop?
I would say the wee morning, maybe of the 6th.
So the night of the 5th that we see on video.
We were both using.
Okay, when we see you on video with smoking with pipes, that's meth.
Right.
Okay. And so you use it that night, you use it into the wee hours of the 6th, is that what you're saying?
I used it that night and yeah, like after 12.
Okay. Where did you use it?
Sometimes in the bedroom, sometimes in the living room.
And so that was the last night you used it, so then you wake up on the 6th and everything's good, right?
Well, we had talked that morning, and we pretty much got over it. You know, she said she was sorry, I said I was sorry, and we pretty much tried to put it behind us.
Okay. And on the 6th, you saw Miss Eagleson at her house, correct?
Correct.
You saw Miss Salmons that night?
Hmm?
Okay. Is that a yes?
Yes,
You both smoke marijuana off and on during the day, correct?
correct.
Okay. When did she do meth?
The last time I seen her do it was, I assume, because I had woke up to take a pee, and I assumed that because it smelled like it, and she had a pipe in her hand, that she was smoking.
Okay, so on the night of the 6th, after Miss Salmons leaves, you go to sleep where?
I go to sleep on the couch.
Okay. You wake up,
Correct.
what time?
I am not sure.
You have no clue, time frame.
Not really. I just woke up to take a pee. I don't really look at the time every time I do that.
So sometime in the night,
Right.
you wake up to go to the bathroom. You didn't see her, you just smelled meth.
Smelt and seen it in her hand. I mean,
Was
one
she
would
in the
assume.
bathroom?
Was she in the bathroom? I'm not sure. Maybe.
Okay. So was she smoking meth in the living room, in the bathroom, or the bedroom?
I woke up and on the way to the bathroom, so it might have been in the living room, the dining room area.
And so that was the last time you saw her doing it.
Correct.
And when was the last time you guys did marijuana? Was that when Salmons was there?
Yeah, the last time I did. I'm not sure about her.
Okay. You didn't see her do anything that morning, correct? Morning of the 7th.
No, I woke up and pretty much got my pants and then went into the shower area.
Okay. And it was your testimony earlier that the two of you did not sleep for 10 to 12 days.
Correct.
10 to 12 days.
Correct.
But yet you went over to a neighbor's house, hung out, interacted, watched movies.
Well, I got sleep by then,
When did you get sleep?
the night before, the
night
6th,
of the 5th going into the 6th?
a little bit into the morning.
And so let's go to the morning of the 7th.
Okay.
You testified that You woke up that morning and you went to get your pants, which is different than what you told the detectives, correct?
Right.
That you went and you were getting ready to shower, is that right?
Correct.
And I'm a little confused. You said you turned on the shower and stepped in and then you heard her say boo?
Yes.
Okay, so she never peeked in the shower.
No.
She wasn't bubbly and happy. There was no playfulness that you wanted.
No,
the
nothing like
detectives.
that. That was a lie too.
That was a lie. So you just hear her say boo, and so you go to see what's going on.
Correct.
Okay. And what do you see?
I see her with the 9mm, saying that I'm not her husband and that I was plastic.
Where was she standing?
She was standing a little bit from the nightstand.
Okay. Between the front and the end of the bed, somewhere in the middle?
Well, a little bit closer to the nightstand than the middle.
Okay, so she was closer to the wall behind her than to you.
Yeah.
From the head of the bed to the middle of the bed. Is that fair? Somewhere in there?
Within that range at first, yeah.
Okay. So she's standing there. What is she doing with the gun?
She has it like this,
Okay.
and she's looking at me, but it's like she was looking through me.
Okay. And then you testified that you heard a, what did you do?
What do you mean?
What did you do when you saw her with the gun?
Well, I went towards her, trying to, bark commands, hey, put it down, put it down. And I got almost right to her, and she went like this with the gun, so I went off her and it popped.
Well, when did you get the gun then?
Oh, I got it on the way there.
Okay, so you see her with the gun.
It was right by where I was standing outside the damn shower. It was,
Okay.
it was right outside there, that box.
Okay. And so you get right up on her with your gun now, or
Right.
with a gun.
Right.
Okay. She swings at you like to hit you with it? And earlier you
Not on the
testified
first
she touched
time.
you.
Not on the first time. The first time she went like this, and I pushed off her, and the gun went off. And then when she was swinging, I was getting away from her. That's when I let off. That's when I let off a round.
Okay, she was with the arm's length then of you the first time. You said you pushed off of her.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you try to push her down?
I was trying to get the gun.
You were trying to get, did you try to grab her arm?
Yes.
Okay, she's like 90 pounds soaking wet. You couldn't get the gun?
I wasn't gonna try to push her down.
You just said I pushed off of her.
I pushed off of her.
You didn't want to push her down.
Exactly.
You wanted to shoot her.
No. Not at all.
But you shot her instead of pushing her down.
I mean, I don't think I could have pushed her down. She was right by the nightstand.
So instead of grabbing her arm, grabbing the gun, you shot her.
I pushed off of her to flee, and it shot, yes.
Okay, so that was an involuntary shot? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Up against her body.
Right.
You were that close to her.
Correct.
But you couldn't do anything else to take this gun from her.
I tried.
What did you try?
I tried to grab it, and she just...
Now she got the gun behind her?
I mean, she went like this the first time, and then I pushed off, and it went off, and then she swung it some way this way, and I heard a cock first, and she swung it, and that's when I fired, when it was back on me.
Okay, when you pushed off her, she didn't fall.
No.
Okay. So she doesn't fall. She doesn't fall after you hit her the first time with the shot?
No, she just went like this.
Okay, she doesn't say anything?
Not a word.
Doesn't scream out pain?
Not one word, not one sound, nothing.
Okay, but she does what? She swings at you now?
No, she cocks it and swings the gun towards me. So she's kind of like this.
Okay. And earlier you said she did this while you were running away.
While I was getting away. I wasn't running, but I was trying to get away.
How were you trying to get away?
I was trying to get away like this. Running this way. Towards the closet door.
Okay. But you shot her again.
Correct.
And did she fall that time?
Yes, she did, ma'am.
And when she fell that time, you went over and moved the gun with your foot?
Correct. Moved it like this with my foot over to the right side of me.
Set the other one down?
Right. And then went and called 911.
Why did you set the canic at her feet?
I set it down to where about I was standing.
Why did you do that instead of getting it away from her?
I put it right next, I mean, they were just like it should, you know, like right.
She was still breathing, right?
At that time, yes.
Okay. So you didn't think it would be safer for you to remove the guns from that situation? She's still breathing.
That's why I moved it away. She dropped the gun, and that's why I moved it away from her.
Okay. It wasn't because you were trying to make this look like an accident?
Not at all.
You didn't stage that scene?
No.
Okay, that's just where you put them down.
Correct.
That was just convenient for your story.
If you say so.
So you called 911, correct?
Correct.
And the first thing you tell them again is that you're in the shower.
Correct.
You don't ask for help.
Well, I told them, help her, please, help her, please. I mean,
Eventually, but that's not the first thing you said.
I guess not.
You wanted them to know you were in the shower.
Listen, I was panicked. I was scared. I mean, come on now.
You were panicked, you were scared, your wife's dying in the bedroom.
Right.
But one of your other first thoughts was to go to get your marijuana and clean it up.
No, I took it in the room. I didn't hide it or nothing.
Why do you touch it then? If you're not trying to
Out of
hide it?
habit from being in that room.
Out of habit? It's a habit of yours that when your wife's shot in your bedroom, you
Not
move all your
saying,
drugs?
not saying that. You're twisting my words.
No, I'm not. You said it was a habit.
It was a habit to grab the marijuana.
When what?
Anytime I went in that room.
Okay, so anytime you went in the living room, you'd grab your marijuana and take it to another room.
Correct.
So the part where you're looking after you open the door to check your living room for drugs, that had nothing to do with the cops coming in.
No, I was looking for my shoes.
So you weren't worried about getting charged with marijuana, you weren't worried about getting charged with meth.
I mean, a little bit, but that wasn't the first thought in my mind.
So when you're running around your living room, cleaning up your drugs, because it's a habit, and you say, please help her, you don't mean that.
I wouldn't say that.
That was a lie.
No. Of course I wanted him to help her.
You weren't trying to help her.
I wasn't trained. I didn't know what to
They
do.
were trying to give you instructions.
You are watching the prosecutor in this case, Jennifer Dutton, continue to go after the defendant during her cross-examination. While we do need to take a break, come right back because we will not let you miss any of this trial here on Court TV. Welcome back to Court TV Live. So glad you're joining us. I'm Ashley Wilcott, where we are bringing you live trial coverage of Florida versus Keith Johansen. He is on the stand. He is being cross-examined by the prosecutor in the case. Let's take you right back to live court.
Hold the wound. I couldn't see that much of a wound.
Okay. Mr. Johansen, you saw the video of you and your parents at the sheriff's office, correct?
Correct.
And again, hours upon hours upon hours of lying to them, correct?
Yeah, they're hours upon hours. I just wanted to go home.
And you knew you were being recorded, correct?
Correct.
Your parents were giving you all kinds of scenarios.
Right.
Suicide, accident,
Right.
maybe something was wrong with her, maybe you snapped.
Right.
People snap, right?
That's what he said,
Do you
yeah.
remember your dad offering that up?
Yeah.
People snap,
Right.
okay? You could have snapped, she could have snapped, right? He's trying to get something from you. Do you remember that?
That's what he was saying.
Right. And you're coming here today to tell them essentially that Brandy snapped and wasn't being herself, so you had to act in self-defense, but you didn't tell him that then.
Right.
Because you don't want to tarnish her name.
That's some of it, yes.
You testified earlier the Arlo cameras, most of them were outside the home, some were inside the home, is that right?
That's correct.
Did you testify earlier that the camera was placed in the bedroom to record sex between you and Brandy?
That's one of the things I said, yeah.
Okay. And she did that, or you did that?
Kind of a both decision.
Okay. You guys did this stuff mutually, correct?
Right.
You actually approved of it mutually.
Once in a while, yes.
Right. What you had a problem with was when you caught her doing things without your knowledge, correct?
Talking to other people, stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. Talking to other people, masturbating without you there, correct?
For the most part.
Correct?
Yes,
or no?
yes, ma'am.
You had a problem with it to the fact that you were threatening her life when she didn't tell you when she masturbated when you weren't there.
I guess so.
Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I recall one time you at least said, I know you're doing it in the shower without me. You better tell me, bitch.
Talking about her doing videos, yeah.
Videos, masturbating, things like that.
Correct.
All right. It was okay if you were involved, but if you didn't know about it, that's when you had the problem.
I could say sometimes, yeah.
Right. And when you threw the sex toy at her and said, I hope this was worth your life, bitch, that's because she would masturbate when you weren't there.
I'm not talking about life like you dying. I'm talking about the life we built together.
I hope this a dozen times.
I wasn't really meaning any of that.
You didn't mean that you wanted to kill her.
Correct.
You just told her that to scare her.
I guess it was just arguing. I mean, I was heavily influenced with methamphetamine at the time.
You knew what was going on.
That's your opinion.
It's a question. Did you know what was going on?
What do you mean?
You were smoking meth, but you were aware, you knew what was going on. You were forming conscious thoughts in arguments, correct?
Vaguely, but yes.
Even to the point where you removed the camera from the room in this heated argument.
Correct.
And at the very end of that clip, when you remove the camera and you're in the living room, you're talking about how you're going to beat her ass.
I don't recall if it said that or not.
So you had enough thought.
Because we were done. Obviously, nothing was going to be recorded in a sexual way.
So through all of that, you thought that you guys still might have sex, which is why the camera was still on?
I never said we were going to have sex. I said I removed it because we weren't going to.
But you didn't remove it at 5:30 or 6:30 or 7:30 or 8:30 or 9:30.
Right.
So all that time you still thought you guys were going to have sex?
Or do something.
Because that wasn't a big fight?
I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
And so I just want to be clear. When you said, I need to get away from you or I will kill you, you didn't mean that.
No.
When you said, call 911, bitch, and get me out of here, you ain't waking up, you didn't mean that.
Of course not. They're just empty threats.
Empty threats. You admit that you told her she better stay strapped?
I believe something like that was said.
When you said, you better have your homies, or I'm going to have my homies, you better stay strapped?
Something like that.
And what does that mean?
Huh?
That means she should have a gun on her, correct?
I guess.
Yes or no?
Yes.
You told her, correct, that she should call the cops and get rid of you so you don't kill her.
Yeah, these are just all things that I said out of, spur of the moment.
You said you can have all my guns because I'm going to do something bad with them, correct?
No, I said you can have all my guns because you can have them.
Not because you're going to do something bad with them?
I don't believe so.
And you asked her several times if she was afraid, correct?
Once or twice on the video, it seemed that way, yes.
Right. Mr. Johansen, when you talk to your parents at length at the sheriff's office, you tell them multiple times that you're an honest person, correct?
For the most part, in normal situations, yes.
No, I'm asking if you are. I'm asking if you told your parents multiple times you were honest with the detectives and that you're honest.
Sure.
And that you told the
Yes.
detectives the truth.
That's what I told them, yes.
And that was a lie.
Correct. I'm not saying anything I told law enforcement or my parents that it wasn't a lie.
Right, but you're asking these jurors to believe what you're saying today is true when you've been lying for over 3 years, correct?
I wouldn't say over 3 years. I mean, I've told a few lawyers the exact truth.
You lied for 12 hours at the sheriff's office,
Correct?
for 20 days before you were arrested.
I wouldn't say lying, I just didn't say nothing.
Right, to the people that were investigating what happened to your wife that could have looked into a self-defense claim and could have analyzed that with the evidence they had at the time.
Right, but I had no, I was talking to lawyers and stuff, and they just told me to keep my mouth shut.
And when you talked to your parents on the jail calls in the days after you were arrested, you suggested that a neighbor did it, that someone broke in and could have killed Brandy. That was still a lie.
Correct.
And you had 20 days with your parents out of custody without law enforcement there, correct?
Correct.
So you didn't tell them in that time with no law enforcement around.
We really didn't talk about it like you think we did.
Your wife's dead, but you don't talk about it?
I mean, we tried to, get through it a little bit, and we were so busy with lawyers and this and that, we really didn't have the time to talk about anything.
And on that call that I just mentioned, your dad told you that, Keith, if you did this,
Right.
if you did something, they have evidence, they have videos.
Right.
You need to say something.
Right. That was,
And you told him, I didn't do anything.
yeah, I didn't murder nobody.
That's what you mean by I didn't do anything?
Or I didn't do it, I didn't do anything.
I didn't do
however
it. You
phrase
did do it. You just feel you have a defense, correct?
No, I didn't murder nobody, and that's what I was charged with. That's what I was referencing to.
Murdering someone, shooting someone.
Murder is way different than self-defense shooting.
You are charged with murder, but people wanted to know how Brandy got shot.
Right.
And so when they're saying, if you did this, if you shot her, if there's a reason, anything, tell them.
I didn't get
You
the
lied.
context. I didn't get that as the context of the question.
Okay. And then later, when you talk to your mom on the phone, you actually suggest that Ryland could have done this. Correct?
I guess.
You suggested that or not? You heard the phone call.
I think I did.
And she said to you, Keith, that's a little boy.
Right.
Clearly indicating, don't go there, Keith. Ryland didn't do this, correct?
You would have to ask her.
Mr. Johansen, since you've been arrested in this case and pending trial, you've had access to, as you mentioned, several lawyers and all of your discovery and the evidence in this case, correct?
Right.
Correct. And the whole time, both the day of and in the days early in the jail, not only has law enforcement told you the situation doesn't make sense, but your parents are telling you your
Right.
story doesn't make sense.
Right.
So you're here now today to tell a story that matches the evidence and ask them to believe that now you're telling the truth.
That's because I am.
That's because you are,
Correct.
even though you're a liar.
That's your opinion.
You lied for 12 hours to law enforcement,
I told you I did.
for 20 days,
If that's what you say.
and today you're telling the truth.
Correct.
No further questions.
Would you redirect?
Keith, Ms. Dutton asked you about, some questions about the period of time that you and Brandy were using meth before
Right.
the 7th, and about your testimony of her not having sleep during that period of time, and
Correct.
actually for a period of time, you not having sleep.
Yes.
Has there been times in the past when you and Brandy stayed up for days because of using meth?
Yeah, in some cases, yes.
All right. And would those be, God, I apologize. Would those have been for about the same length of time or different times?
Sometimes 5, sometimes 10, sometimes more.
Staying up straight without sleep?
Right.
And all because of using the meth?
Correct.
Okay. When you were talking to the police Were you scared at the time?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Have you, the morning of the 7th, or even the 6th of April 2018, did you, well, let's focus on the 7th, the day of the shooting. Did you have any plans that morning when you got up to shoot and kill your wife?
Definitely not.
Had you been planning at any time prior to that occasion, on any time, to kill your wife that day?
No,
or any
sir.
day?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.